Now, this is genuinely getting out of hand, as a writer has recently proposed an absolutely insane Bruins move around someone who's been in the trade market for as long as we can remember. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as going over multiple updates from the Bruins regarding not just the prospects, but also a move that they have recently made on the business side of things that we're going to be breaking down here in this video. Before we do jump into everything that we have here today, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We have a lot of Bruins news coming, as we're now less than 30 days away from Bruins hockey. You won't want to miss it. We have a lot to cover now, especially with all of the stuff going on with these recent trade reports and everything like that. So be sure to hit the sub button there if you haven't already. But let's jump straight into this, because obviously going into the start of the season, there's been a lot of question marks surrounding what's going to happen with not just Pavel Zacha, not just Casey Mittelstadt, but mainly a bunch of other people as well. Now, Casey Mittelstadt really has seemed to be the center of all of this, with his struggle when joining the Boston team last year. Now, going into this article and kind of going over what they have to say, this is actually, kind of crazy going into it. And they say Mittelstadt has arrived in Boston following the trade with the Colorado Avalanche that sent Charlie Coyle to Denver. However, he hasn't overly impressed during his time with Boston, and if that trend continues, Mittelstadt could find himself on the waiver wire. Now, going from, trade reports of mixing him into a bunch of different teams around the NHL, a few teams interested, to now having him go on the waiver wire this year is absolutely insane. For a player of Casey Mittelstadt's caliber, who definitely struggled when getting to Boston last year, but going over, and we were going to do this here in a moment, his recent years, he has had success elsewhere. That will easily show that he is not a waiver wire player. Now, I will do it now here, jumping into this, and just taking a look, since really, let's just say, taking a look at 22-23 with Buffalo. Going from that year, 82 games, 59 points. Next year, going on, Buffalo again, getting traded to Colorado then in 80 games, going ahead and getting 57 points. Then Colorado, the year after, was then ultimately getting traded to Boston. In Colorado, got 34 points in 63 games, but only 6 and 18 with the Boston Bruins. Now, going across every single year there, and even, including the Boston one, he played, pretty good for each year. I don't think he's lived up to expectations that people thought, but certainly not a waiver wire player, and especially at 26 years old. Now, a big reason as to why they're throwing him in this category and into a category of waiver wire players is because of his cap space and the cap that he's taking up on this Bruins roster. And although it is quite a bit, a little bit over $5 million, he is still a player that has that potential to continue to get back to that pace. And I really don't want to put anything on anybody last year for this Bruins team. We know that it was not at all a very good spot to play if you're going really to rack up points if you weren't on the first line, and Casey Mittelstadt was not. He was on a different line, our different line mates pretty much every game, especially with a lot of injuries going throughout the season. But now going into this upcoming year where he's going to be in a lot of conversations once again for trades and whatnot, he's going to have a good opportunity to really show now with the training camp with Boston, getting used to the team, understanding the team, and hopefully having everybody healthy, that he can seriously be a big impact on this team. So, going into this, as I'll say it again, the waiver wire, absolutely crazy, not an option in my opinion. And even when they have a kind of an excuse to go out here and say, why, it's still not really my kind of mentality behind this move. And they say the Bruins wouldn't have to worry about Casey Mittelstadt being claimed off waivers. His $5.75 million cap hit is enough to scare interested parties away, unless there's a team desperately seeking a center and had the cap space to take on this full hit. Mittelstadt is likely to clear waivers. Now, I don't think there is a chance that he would clear waivers, honestly. I think there's a lot of teams still looking for a center that would fit the narrative of Casey Mittelstadt, a 26-year-old center who is on a decently reasonable contract for someone who can go up and put 59 points up, and now saying that he would be cleared, and scare other parties away. Fully not on board with that, and I want to get your guys' opinion here on this as well, because I know we have a few Casey Mittelstadt supporters here on the channel and watching these videos, and I'm one. I think that Casey Mittelstadt, given the right opportunity, is going to be very good, and we just need to find that here in Boston. But when you do take a look at the teams that could use another center like Casey Mittelstadt, this is everybody that currently can, going based off their current cap space. So you're taking a look down this list. There's a lot of teams that are in the kind of the mid category, while also some that are borderline playoff, like Columbus, Calgary, and especially kind of coming into a very interesting playoff team in Carolina. They seem to be liking these guys who can come into this team and make things work. So there are teams here that certainly would be interested in Casey Mittelstadt and wouldn't mind taking over that cap hit, especially when you're taking a look at what he's done in the past. I mean, I'll kind of go back to this. I mean, you're taking a look at the stats. There's easily players that make more than this, that do less production. So I think that the Boston Bruins may jump the gun on this. And of course, this is from a writer. This is not from the Boston Bruins themselves or any insider. This is just kind of a theory that could go down. And I still think the Bruins need to give an opportunity before even being traded. I still think that Casey Mittelstadt could be a very sneaky option here, and I'm just waiting to see it. I think that could very well come this year, whenever this team really gets rolling, and whether or not it is actually to start the season. So I want to know what you guys think about that there in the comments below, about Casey Mittelstadt potentially being on waivers, more so than being traded, but trade in my book, if Casey Mittelstadt were to be moved, is the far more likely option. And I mean, just taking a look at where things kind of come from this offense as well, I don't see Casey Mittelstadt, a second-line winger right now, can also play center, being on the waivers. So let me know what you think about that. But let's move on to another pretty big topic regarding the Boston Bruins, and their rookie camp roster and prospect challenge roster has been released. Now, I'm not going to go through it. Pause, take a look at this here, but there's a lot of names that we are very familiar with, and a few that I wanted to point out here. So there are a few that are attending on an invite basis, which of course we can touch on at a later date if some of these do kind of break through a little bit more. But Dan Slocmelis, Fraser Minten, really highlighting the offense here, as well as Riley Duran, Dalton Bancroft. There's a few here that are, highlighting kind of players that have the opportunity to crack the NHL roster this year. Some that may not, but some that are going to be on that teetering point for call-ups, and also being a much higher candidate this year than other years. Now, we move to the defense as well. Jackson Edward, Ty Gallagher, Loke Johansson. There's a few here that are also going to be very big impact players over the next couple of years, whether or not they actually do make a debut sooner rather than later. But we're going to get a good look at these players here, and I think Fraser Minten being really the biggest one right now that is highlighting this entire group. And, I feel like we could take a look at every single one here and take a deep dive, but, this video would end up being a couple hours. So I think that looking at this roster now and kind of going into this training camp, or the rookie camp, and the roster challenge for the prospects, it's going to be a very interesting one to see how these players kind of merge together while also being up against some pretty big competition. I mean, you're taking a look at some of these defensive players here. How are they going to face drills against Fraser Minten? How are they going to kind of work around that? Are they going to be able to, show a very, very good look against Fraser Minten, against Dan Slocmelis, some of these players who have reached the pro level already? I think it's going to be a kind of a good opportunity for them. So this is something I just want to put out. Keep in mind, take a look at it, and remember some of these names here, because I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these players, some already, but some sneaky ones as well, kind of jump up in the list of Bruins call-up players here throughout this season. So take a look at this, keep it down, keep a reminder of some of the names, and also have a look at some of these invite players as well, because there's a few here that are on the interesting side of things that could very well work out for this Boston Bruins team. But we do have one more update before this video finishes off, and this is the Maine Mariners, the ECHL team for the Boston Bruins. They have extended their affiliation with a 3-year deal through 27-28 for the season. So those of you who is your local team, a very good look for that, and your Bruins fans as well. It's going to be a good opportunity, and kind of going back to that roster as well right here, you're going to see a lot of these guys. Some of these, already being there in the ECHL, but you're going to see a lot of these names eventually get there, move up and move down throughout the AHL, ECHL, before eventually making it to the NHL. We saw it last year with going with Justin Brazeau, being an ECHL guy, going to the AHL, and ultimately jumping up to the NHL and having some pretty good success in there. So a very good news for the Maine Mariners, who are, of course, the ECHL team that are going to be holding a lot of our very interesting prospects that we've acquired over the past couple seasons. So, but a lot of news, but a lot more is coming over the next few days, especially taking a look at some stuff that Don Sweeney had to say over the past couple days. We're going to be breaking that down in the next video, so be sure to stick around for that and hit the sub button. But that is all I have in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.